The Life of Saint Joseph, Chapter 11. Joseph's departure from Nazareth, the first years of his sojourn in Jerusalem. Early in the morning, Joseph gathered a few clothes into a small bundle, and then betook himself to prayer, to beseech God to stand by him on his journey, saying, "My God, you see that I am about to leave my home to go to Jerusalem, in order to accomplish there your divine will. I am leaving as a poor man, a beggar. Even though I am now much poorer than before, I am content, because I believe it pleases you to have me to be so. Although I have been abused and beaten and robbed of my property here in my own native village, I ask you not to punish my relatives or the villagers, but rather that you forgive them for all the injuries they have inflicted upon me. I myself willingly also forgive them from the bottom of my heart, and wish them well. Moreover, if it should be your will that I continue to be treated in the same manner in my new dwelling place, I am completely resigned to endure the same. I beg of you, never abandon me, for as long as I am able to partake of your assistance and favors, I fear nothing. I pray you to give me your fatherly blessing. May it safeguard me on the way. May your almighty arm uphold me. I place myself entirely into your loving fatherly arms." After having conversed with God, Joseph arose happily assured of the divine blessing. He picked up his little bundle and started off on his way out of Nazareth, while it was still early and without being seen by anyone. He found himself all alone on the road, and in his exuberance of spirit, he burst forth into prayerful praise of God by means of select passages from the Davidic Psalms. Repeatedly he would exclaim, "Observe, my God, that I am on my way to comply with your wishes. Soon I shall be able to satisfy my own desire of frequenting your holy temple." The closer he came to his destination, the greater was Joseph's anticipation, and the more ardent his longing to make a renewal of his oblation to God in the temple itself. In Nazareth, the news spread that Joseph had left. There really was no one who would have undertaken to make a search for him. On the contrary, there were actually many who rejoiced over his departure, because they believed that they could now enjoy in peace what they had acquired at his expense. Joseph was gradually forgotten by all in the village, and no more mention was made of him. His goodness had been repaid by ingratitude. Even when Joseph came to realize this, he rejoiced over the fact that he now could live in undisturbed peace. Upon his arrival in Jerusalem, Joseph went immediately to the temple. He renewed his oblation to God, and thanked him for his provisional care on the journey, and begged him to manifest his holy will. Again, God deigned to speak to him interiorly, and advised him what he must do. Since he was tired from the journey, the saint simply asked God for his continual support, and then quickly arose from prayer to make his way happily out of the temple. He now had to find for himself an inn where he could eat and get his rest for the night. That night, as he slept, the angel spoke to Joseph, confirming what had already been told to him by God himself. He was directed to give to the temple 2/3 of the money he had brought with him. 1/2 of the remaining third he was to make use of for his own needs during these initial days. The second half was to be distributed to the poor. In the morning, Joseph arose early, and after his usual prayers, he went to the temple. There he joyfully made his monetary gift of alms. Then, kneeling down, he praised and thanked God for having made his will known to him. He declared himself ready to carry out all that had been commanded. After remaining for a time in prayer, Joseph occupied himself with distributing to the poor the money which had been designated for this purpose. He accomplished this quickly. Then he went to look for a carpenter who could teach him the trade with which he intended to provide for his needs. He did not have to seek very long, for God arranged that he soon met a God-fearing man engaged in this type of work. With this master workman, Joseph then decided the question of a suitable wage. Joseph learned his trade well, and he found its acquisition easy. The love with which he embraced the divine will always made everything seem easy and agreeable. In spite of the fact that he was now active in his apprenticeship, he never discontinued his habitual devotional exercises or the recitation of the Psalms. Joseph was humbly submissive to his instructor and obeyed him promptly and meticulously. Because of this, and his other rare virtues, Joseph was very much loved by him. Joseph showed much deference to his teacher because he considered him to be his master. He never conversed with him about his own lineage or about his material inheritances. He only spoke whenever it was really necessary, and usually was completely engrossed in the business of learning the trade. He never sought for any entertainment. When he had the desire to go to the temple, he would ask his master's permission. If it was granted, he would go. If it was not, he would renounce even this worthy means of refreshment. In the workshop there were many opportunities for Joseph to give evidence of his heroic spirit. He was often insulted by tramps and loafers who commented on the fact that he had not started till now to learn a trade, implying that they considered him to be, like themselves, a tramp and a loafer. To such mockeries he would only bow his head and say nothing. When the master workman was in the shop during these provocations, he would severely reprimand these spiteful individuals and move to drive them out. Joseph would then ask that they be allowed to remain, inasmuch as he was not annoyed or wearied by them. Joseph's modesty was truly extraordinary. He never raised his eyes to take in new or unusual sights. Even though he was living in Jerusalem, he was entirely unaware of the specialized activities and novelties which took place there. He did not deviate from his established course of travel as he made his way daily from workshop to temple and back. In the shop, he behaved not as would be expected of a junior apprentice who was merely earning his keep, but rather as a servant who is ready to be obliging to his master in the most menial of services. The master noticed that his apprentice was giving alms to the poor, so one day he spoke to Joseph on the matter and advised him to consider that he himself was poor and needy. To this Joseph merely replied, "Allow me to make these gifts to the poor, for God will certainly provide for my own necessities." His master was very much edified by these words. The practice of his trade was a source of inexplicable joy for Joseph, and also the fact that he was in the position of a subordinate. It pleased him to be considered poor and insignificant and disregarded by men. His angel told him how meritorious these virtues were, and how those who practiced them were loved by God. Naturally, this was enough to make Joseph apply all his powers thereto. By this time, Joseph was 20 years old, and very much advanced along the path of divine love. His spirit never deviated from God, the only object of his love. Indeed, even at work he was frequently wrapped in ecstasy through contemplation of the divine perfections. He fasted a great deal, and spent many nights in prayer, totally absorbed in God. He continued to manifest his concern for the dying. Although he was unable now to assist them personally because of his apprenticeship, he still included them continuously in his prayers. After Joseph had completed his apprenticeship, he continued to live for a number of years under this same arrangement. He expected that his angel would reveal to him whether God wanted him to remain here in this shop or to withdraw. One day, the master workman became seriously ill. Joseph stayed with him and cared for him as for his father, and prayed fervently for his eternal welfare. God was propitious to his prayers, and his master died a happy death. Joseph was now on his own, and as he prayed in the temple, he pleaded with God to give him some indication as to how he was to serve him. He was interiorly enlightened and consoled, and the following night the angel spoke to him and revealed to him what he must do. God now wanted him to live a solitary and retired life, continue his extremely simple daily existence, and acquire for himself only those tools and materials necessary to exercise his trade. The receipt of this message was truly a great consolation for Joseph. He awoke immediately, got up from his couch, and went down on his knees to thank and give praise to God for this manifestation of his will. End of chapter 11.